We are slaying monsters.
Don't let the ghosts and the ghouls disturb you, darling.
Brother EJ.
Yes, Brother Matthew.
Thank you for joining us at this secret meeting of our secret society where we will overtake the world's governments and control the entire world.
Sorry, can you repeat that? I wasn't listening. I'm drunk
well,
off of the wine that is being served here.
sacramental wine that we serve at the secret society.
I just ate this goat. Is that bad?
Of the Illuminati. Or the Freemasons.
Are we supposed to kill this goat?
Or the Knights Templar.
When does the orgy happen?
Oh, it has already begun. It is an orgy of the brain, not of the body.
Okay, I'm out. I'll see you guys later.
Oh, baby, are we getting into it today?
Yay! Oh, we are slaying monsters. We got Matt across the table.
Yo.
I'm EJ, and we have, what is this, part 3?
This is part 3 of the Mystery of Oak Island. And in this part, we're going to get into the deep, dark depths, not of the money pit on Oak Island, but of the secret societies that may have, but actually didn't dig the money pit there.
Didn't? Spoiler alert.
Well, yeah. So today we're going to get into, we talked already about the original part of the legend of the buried secret treasure in Oak Island. And that is that it came from Captain Kidd, right? Mm-hmm. Captain Kidd, we know for a fact that he landed on Garnier's Island and buried some treasure there with the help of John Garnier. Now, there are people who believe that it's not actually pirate treasure that's hidden in the money pit on Oak Island, that it is some type of ancient treasure or perhaps documents or something like that that are either part of Freemasons or the Illuminati or possibly even the Knights Templar. Or maybe all of them combined, because depending on who you talk to, they're all kind of sort of the same organization too.
Okay, well, I say why not?
That's what most people say, actually. Mm-hmm. Oak Island theorists say, why not? Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we're going to get really deep. I had considered making this like its entire section, but it's so intrinsic to Oak Island that I thought it was important for us to dive into this as part of Oak Island itself. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk very extensively about the origins of all of these things today, which is great. So when we last left Oak Island, our intrepid treasure hunter, Jotham McCulley, had hit a dead end. The legendary money pit collapsed after a bailing operation, leaving the whole site just a disaster. With his company bankrupt yet again, McCulley left Oak Island, discouraged but not beaten. By the early 1860s, Jotham McCulley pops up again, this time in a newspaper article in Nova Scotia's Liverpool Transcript. This was a weekly paper that was, according to the Nova Scotia Archives, published weekly provided there was sufficient ink and paper.
Oh, that's so cute. Huh.
June 1862. McCulley published a letter detailing the events that we've talked about so far. This seems to be the first recorded history of the treasure hunt on Oak Island, and also the first time the Captain Kidd link is made to the site, at least on paper. There had been rumors they had talked about maybe pirates are landing here. Maybe that's why we see lights on Oak Island, but this is the first time it's written down. McCulley became almost obsessive after the Truro Company and Oak Island Association's dissolvement, and devoted himself to finding financiers who could back a new excavation on the site. His perseverance and belief paid off, too. In 1866, the Oak Island El Dorado Company was incorporated. They took their name from the fictional city of El Dorado, a mythical city of gold somewhere in the Muisca Kingdom in Colombia.
That's very suitable.
Stories of this lost city with streets paved of gold and vast riches that you were just kind of free for the taking, had permeated Spanish and British expeditions to Central and South America for centuries, really. The legend of Cibola, the 7 cities of gold, had been passed through the Aztec myth since at least the 16th century. This sent Francisco Vázquez de Coronado on a massive expedition across the continent, searching for these lost cities of gold. He and his men swept through Mexico and the western United States, and actually became the first Europeans to visit the Grand Canyon and established Spanish territories all over that region. That's why you see all of the Spanish influence in, like, southwestern United States. Mm-hmm. By the end of the 16th century, Sir Walter Raleigh set off on his own expedition after hearing stories from someone who claimed to have actually been taken there blindfolded to this El Dorado. Raleigh became obsessed with finding El Dorado and headed for Guyana and Venezuela with a fleet of 4 ships. He never did find the city. Instead, he spent a good deal of his time just raiding and pillaging the Spanish and indigenous settlements in that region.
Oh, well, didn't he make his own El Dorado then?
I mean, he kind of did. El Dorado was the ships we pillaged along the way.
Yes, it sure was. El Dorado is just another word for imperialism.
I mean, in a way, it kind of is, too. Because when you talk about the myth of El Dorado, it's absolutely like, well, it's this city where everything is free for the taking. That doesn't mean that it's actually free for the taking. It's just that, like, if we show up with guns, we can take it.
Yeah, it's not yours.
Yeah, exactly. Despite his failing, he published an outrageously inaccurate account of his journey, which is responsible for the proliferation of the myth of El Dorado. After being imprisoned for siding with the wrong branch of the monarchy, it happens at the time.
You had a 50-50 chance.
Yeah, right? Coin flip.
Yep.
Raleigh was pardoned and sent on another expedition to search for El Dorado. Before he set sail, he was given specific orders to avoid hostilities with Spain this time, as the Treaty of Utrecht had been signed between the British and Spanish rulers. Raleigh basically said, well, fuck that, and attacked Guyana for just, old time's sake. Just had to get one more round in, He once again returned home without any evidence of a lost city of gold. This pissed off Spain, who demanded blood, and Raleigh was beheaded in 1618. His head was embalmed and given to his wife, because what's a better conversation piece than your dead husband's severed head?
Whoa, that's a weird little tradition.
Yeah, right?
Well, you want to be stuffed, so...
I do want to be stuffed and put in an action pose.
Yeah, so, it's not really that weird.
Yeah.
Maybe he wanted that. Maybe they both agreed to that ahead of time.
I don't think Walter Raleigh got anything that he wanted besides all of the gold that he pillaged.
That's true, and he probably didn't even get to keep that.
No, he was executed.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jotham Macaulay's Oak Island El Dorado Company adopted the name of the lost city in an obvious attempt to associate themselves with these vast riches. Considering that El Dorado was never found and is clearly a myth told and retold, that association is even sharper than they probably realized at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Now, during the intervening years, Macaulay had become convinced that during the Money Pit collapse, the treasure had fallen into a cave or hollow section. You might remember that when the collapse happened, the bottom had given out of the hole that they dug, which means that there must be some kind of cavity down there.
There very well could be.
Trying to find a way into this subterranean void, the El Dorado Company dug new shafts all over the area, turning the island into like some kind of Swiss cheese monstrosity. Despite their best efforts, Macaulay was unsuccessful. Like the expedition for which they were so aptly named, the El Dorado Company gave up and left empty-handed, but with decidedly less pillaging.
Yeah, well, it was already pillaged, so...
And everybody kept their head.
Everybody did keep their head. Some people died, though.
The island remained farmland for the next 30 years or so. Anthony Vaughan and John Smith passed away, and the stories of buried treasure kind of faded into memory and blurred with the popular fiction of the time, like 1883's Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. But even more relevant than the 19th century pirate stories is the rise of a particularly goofy group whose influence, or at least reputation, would color the Fortean world and conspiracy theories for the next century.
What is this? What time period is this again?
Well, this that we're talking about is now the turn of the 20th century.
The Theosophists?
Oh, no. We're not quite... No, we are talking about those who beget the Theosophists.
Okay. The Masons? The Freemasons?
The Freemasons. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The origins of Freemasonry are mundane, as are most of their antics. But their reputation and their association with theosophy, with esotericism, has become such a cornerstone of secret society and base conspiracy theories that we need to break it down here to understand the what, how, and why that these silly little rituals came to hold so much intellectual sway over the world. And they kind of do. Like, there's such a... To be clear up front, the Freemasons do not control the world. But they do kind of control conspiracy theory. Not directly, but conspiracy theory has become so influenced by all of the stories that we're about to talk about that it has kind of become that.
Is it a chicken or the egg kind of a thing? Or?
Yeah, in a way, like, because these Freemasons, these secret societies rose, and then legends were told about them, and the legends kind of fed into the secret societies, and the secret societies fed into the legends, and then all of a sudden you had this like circular logic type of thing where they are building the story while the story is built about them.
Yeah.
Right?
Makes sense.
Okay. So during the Age of Enlightenment, you had a bunch of scholars and intellectuals beginning to unravel the mysteries of the natural world. A good portion of these spawned science, serving as the foundations for biology, anthropology, astronomy, those types of things. That's your Francis Bacon's, your Isaac Newton's, your John Locke's, your Johanna Kepler's, right? Mm-hmm. These thinkers, they're helping to shape the scientific method. They're helping to establish the foundations of the world through like a natural understanding that doesn't require a deity in the sky to justify everything that goes on. It's broadly what we call the scientific revolution. Thanks to all of this discovery and this unique thinking, we're starting to see the rise of philosophy in the Western world. This often got lumped in with science because neither one was really an independent discipline at the time. All the wealthy upper class, they're meeting at their tea parties and their dinners, and they're talking about these new discoveries, these new scientific discoveries, and how they reshape the world. And they're asking all kinds of what-if questions, like an episode of Ancient Aliens on acid. You know, what if these things that we're learning about the stars, you know, what does that mean in terms of a god that's supposed to live up there? These things that we're learning about biology, what does that tell us about the God who is supposed to have created us in his image, right? That sort of stuff. So this, of course, makes them start to question things like the establishment of a government and monarchies and what individual rights look like in a society that isn't ruled by a king.
You start to see in biology the way that things kind of work on their own.
Exactly.
They work through evolution.
Yes.
They have a nice clean system. It's not always perfect, but it's like it's there. It's viable.
Independent,
it's
right?
independent.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that is such a natural way of thinking into, oh wow, we don't need the monarchy. The animals did not need, let's say theoretically, a god to move forward in their evolutionary cycle, even though we're way before evolution.
Yeah, we're not talking evolution yet.
But they are beginning to probably see that things do have an independent structure.
Yes.
And so why can't we have an independent structure?
Absolutely. Yeah. And then what happens? Revolution comes onto the table. And some countries, like France and the newly established United States, start to break free of the shackles of their oppressors. Largely, this is all called rationalism. Basically, the idea that people should only be subjected to things if it makes sense to their existence. Why toil under a king if it's not in your best interest? Why go to church if your God seems to be absent from your life? This begets the knowledge of free will, the idea that rational individuals can decide their own fate for themselves, and they don't need a monarch or a deity to do it for them.
And just to be very clear, at least for America and for Britain for a long time and these other colonies, this is all for white people, white men.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about sort of high society people who were able to have these conversations, which is, in modern history is going to be wealthy white men. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. These ideas of enlightenment were disseminated through the Western world through a variety of means. Obviously, the establishment of scientific universities helped to spread intellectual thinking and questioning. And for the first time, we're starting to see scientific journals and encyclopedias in circulation, which now is passing the knowledge on in a mass market form. Sort of. An early mass market form. Then you had salons. You've heard of salons before?
Of course I've heard of salons. Come on.
Yeah, so the salons, particularly in France and Italy, they become important for people to meet and discuss this philosophy, discuss this enlightenment. And these thinkers, again, wealthy white men, but these thinkers, they might even bring copies of the latest scientific journals and discuss these over their tea and their coffee and their wine. And as these debates over societal organizations and structure become more robust, the aristocrats realized they could actually put their concepts into practice on a micro scale in their own groups. So as they're starting to say, maybe we don't need a king, maybe we can rule through a more democratic process. What if we do that here, right? What if we establish our own micro government? And so they began to build small societies in their gatherings. And these became self-governing fraternities with codes of conduct and creeds and values. And, as you can imagine, they slowly became more and more insular, because not everyone would agree with everything that each group was saying or what a particular organization might stand for.
So there were many different branches of this pretty quickly.
You start to see these splinter groups form, yeah. Some members might straddle the lines between several, others might become devout followers or members of a single society. So now you have a bunch of groups of these individual thinkers, they all have their own creeds and conduct. They need a way to differentiate and identify themselves. So they began using complex iconography. This is where you start to see the square and the compass of Freemasonry, the columns representing strength and the winding staircases symbolizing the journey from apprentice to knowledgeable master artisan. You also see the letter G for geometry, and also because the Freemasons are basically Sesame Street characters.
I do remember seeing G around a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'll always see it's like an upside down V. That's the compass. Yeah. The measuring compass with the G in the middle of it.
Yeah, I thought it was...
that's the Freemason symbol.
In my head is a triangle, but yeah, okay.
Yep.
The compass and then the G.
Yeah. The name Freemason was taken from the idea of a guild of stonemasons. During the explosion of architecture and construction in Europe, Masons banded together in what were essentially early unions, protecting their wages and their contracts, taking on apprentices, passing down the skills of their trade. By the time these Masonic lodges came into vogue alongside the salons, modern aristocrats were treating their knowledge in much the same way that the actual Masons had 4 centuries before, disseminating them through insular channels and ensuring their members were protected. So you ended up with these people who were essentially treating their intellectual knowledge and their thinking and their philosophy as almost a skilled trade.
Okay. That's very advanced.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And in a way, that was the groundwork for early colleges too, early universities. It's the same thing. You come to this society where that is sort of an insular society. We're not going to accept everybody. And when you're there, we will give you the secrets that we have learned. We will give you this knowledge that we have learned, which is no different than saying like, hey, you know, I'm working as a carpenter, and if you come and work in my shop, I'll teach you how to build a house.
Right.
Right? So you see how these things bridge. This idea of protecting these ideas is never more prominent than in the creation of the Illuminati, one of the cornerstones of conspiracy theory. Illuminati obviously means...
Illuminated.
Enlightened, yeah. Oh. Enlightened, yeah. Which dovetails with everything we've talked about so far, right? The original Illuminati started in Bavaria in 1776 and stood for pretty much everything the Freemasons did. So we're talking intellectual reasoning, freedom from superstition and religion, rebellion against governmental persecution.
They sound like more organized pirates.
I mean, in a way. In a way, kind of. It's funny. Their origins are different, but sure.
Oh, totally different. But, like, you know, the pirates, they had a more democratic thing than the monarchy on land.
Sure,
They weren't perfect, and I think a lot of people see them now through rose-colored glasses, but there were some elements of this, I think, that are slightly paralleled.
So, EJ, tell me what you think of, like, when we talk about the Illuminati, tell me what you think of when we discuss them.
Illuminati?
Yeah.
I think about Dan Brown novels.
Yeah, sure, but go deeper now.
I think about the dollar bill with the pyramid and the eye on it.
Yeah.
And I think about secret societies that run the world.
Right.
And I honestly thought that it was completely fiction.
Well, no, the Illuminati originally was real. Yeah.
I thought that it was kind of like reptilians, where it was like not real.
Reptilians are complete fiction.
Right. I thought it was like on that level.
No. The modern incarnation of it is, but the original Illuminati actually existed. Yeah. We're 1776, which isn't that an interesting year for them to establish?
It is.
Okay. So the founder of the original Illuminati was a religious studies professor at the University of Ingolstadt, a man named Adam Weishaupt. Frustrated with how much control the Jesuits had over the university, which is to say how much financial influence the Jesuits had, Weishaupt came to hate religious authority. He liked the Freemasons, who shared his skepticism of religion. But to him, their ideas were too simplistic and their secrecy wasn't opaque enough. Basically, he wanted something cooler and edgier that would better fit his rebellious nature. Okay? So he started his own fraternity at the university, one that had to be truly secret because of the watchful eye of the Jesuit rule. Because they were controlling everything. And this is legit. Like, there was Jesuit money at the university, and so they were in charge. Taking the idea of an illuminated understanding of the world, Weishaupt called his new secret society...
The Illuminati.
No. The Covenant of Perfectibilitas. But soon, he realized that name sounded fucking stupid, and so he changed it to the Illuminati.
The Covenant of Perfectibilis?
Yeah. Covenant of Perfectibilitas.
Oh, of Perfectibilitas.
Perfectibilitas.
It's kind of fun to say, though.
Yeah, but it's dumb. So he made it the Illuminati. Due to the necessary secrecy, because, the Jesuits were watching, members of the Illuminati used pseudonyms and communicated with each other through ritualistic secret greetings. They started using specific iconography, like the Greek owl of Minerva, as covert identification. Members held ranks like novice or illuminated Minerval and began recruiting in earnest. For the next 20 years, the Illuminati became a powerful enterprise, expanding rapidly through the country. This is real. This actually happened. By the late 1780s, the group had powerful influence in social circles, including the government, and more importantly at that time, the Jesuit church.
They had influence within the Jesuit church?
Oh, yeah, they did. This organization that Weishaupt hated.
So this is good. He did it nice and slowly.
Yeah.
He took his time.
Right. And for the record, this has less to do with infiltration and more to do with the Illuminati's message being particularly attractive to their target demographic. They were going after rich, docile young men who were, quote, willing to learn.
Okay, so sponges.
Basically,
open-minded
right?
people.
Yeah, so they were just looking for all these open-minded young men who came to their society and would recruit other people, and then all of a sudden they were building this gigantic following. In a lot of ways, the Illuminati were kind of like the enforcers of the Freemason ideas. Things that the aristocracy was discussing over their coffee in salons were actually being enacted in Bavaria through Weishaupt's Illuminati. Overthrowing the church and destabilizing the established government, they were actually on the docket here in Bavaria because you had this influence, right? War broke out in the United States. Revolution rumbled in France, and the power of critical thinking grew stronger. As they began seeing their influence crumble, the church became more and more distressed by the rise of the Illuminati. This was probably exacerbated by the members of the supposedly secret society boasting about how much power and influence they held. By 1787, the whole dick-swinging contest got out of hand, and Count Charles Theodore banned all secret societies, from the Illuminati to the Freemasons.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
That was bound to happen.
Of course, right? I mean, you are de-establishing the church, which is this gigantic, influential, essentially governmental body at the time.
Yeah, and all the money's coming from there.
They were always going to come down on you.
And, they're already a very secret society.
Right.
They both are. So just go underground more.
Well, and that's exactly what happened. So outlawing the Illuminati did nothing but drive its members further underground. When the French Revolution started in 1789, blame was laid on the Illuminati's doorstep. Because otherwise, why would these people have risen up? It must be the Illuminati's fault. The church claimed that the society members had incited an underground revolution.
Well...
And to be fair, they kind of did.
Yeah, but it was probably going to happen anyway.
Yeah. It's just that they did it through ideas, like freedom from religion and the monarchy. But the church still had massive power, and they were able to drive the final nail in the Illuminati coffin, ending the organization. At least in that form. It's not hard to see how much of a threat these secret societies were for the established Western world. You've got two incredible revolutions in the US and France basically back to back, right? You've got a population of thinkers, many of whom are actually nobility, or at least are influential, who are questioning the way society is structured. Do we need kings? Do we need monarchies? Can we govern ourselves? And then you've got a class of scientists who are undermining the ideas of religion and the power of God themselves. At least that's according to the church. Like, that's what they're saying, right? No wonder these institutions became so hated by the establishment. They hated these secret societies. They were so dangerous to them and their power.
The establishment hates this one simple trick.
Basically, that's what it would be now. Yeah, with the Illuminati symbol, right? Obviously. We can trace this to today's mythology, and the idea that the Illuminati survived and still holds that kind of incredible influence over the world's government. So that's a whole other discussion and much too broad of a topic to be covered here. And to be fair, I learned recently about the rise of the Illuminati in the 1960s and how it was done by a bunch of people who were we don't need to get into it, but it's a very fascinating moment. The Illuminati didn't actually rise, but there were a bunch of essentially libertarians who wanted people to start thinking differently about how much control was being exerted over their lives, because of course libertarians don't want any control at all. So they started using Illuminati rhetoric and then that fascinated fiction writers who wrote more about the Illuminati. And then the people, the libertarians, started taking elements from the fiction and incorporating it into their own Illuminati rhetoric and back and forth. And then all of a sudden you ended up with this cyclical story where fiction was talking about the Illuminati, and then other people were talking about the Illuminati, and then their stories were being put into the fiction and back and forth and like all of that.
Right.
So anyway.
Interesting.
We'll talk about that at some point because it's really fascinating. For now, I'll just say this. Much of the power and influence of these secret societies was manufactured by their members and the monarchy. And what I mean by that is the members wanted to be seen as powerful, and the monarchy wanted a boogeyman to blame for their loss of control of the populace. So, you take the American Revolution, right? We had the freethinkers. The freethinkers incited war. The society, the establishment, Britain in this case, came down on them and was like, I can't believe we allowed these salons to exist where they were able to have this free thought. Look at how dangerous the free thought was. While the free thinkers are saying, whoa, look at how powerful we are. We can upend a monarchy. Mm-hmm. But none of that was quote unquote real. That's all legend, hearsay, rhetoric that both places were saying. Okay. And as you said earlier, it was probably going to happen anyway.
Mm-hmm. It's always good to have somebody to blame.
That's what they needed, right? Mm-hmm. In a lot of ways, it was in the monarchy's best interest to vilify secret societies as these all-powerful, mind-altering groups, kind of like Antifa. It quashed the rise of the intellectual and violent dissent, and it built this almost mustache-twirling villain who was pulling the strings behind the scenes of the revolution. Because the thing is, if you don't have that, what are you left with? A population of commoners who gradually realize that the monarchy and religion might be bad for them, and they can govern themselves better.
Yeah. That
idea is way more dangerous than anything that was discussed in the lodges then or now.
It's way scarier when a whole society rises up independently of itself.
Absolutely.
So it's so nice to have somebody to blame.
Right. Right. So they blamed these secret societies because that way they didn't need to lay the blame at the feet of the common person, because that meant that the common person had a lot of power. Mm-hmm. The common person could rise up and overthrow the government. Okay. Now, all that said, what the fuck does this have to do with Oak Island? Remember, the Freemasons loved their allegorical symbols, compasses, staircases, columns, and Sesame Street letters. They also loved stories about ancient secrets, rituals, and rites. Joe Nickel, writing in a Skeptical Inquirer article, points out, theirs is not, they insist, a secret society, but a society with secrets.
Oh, that's much more cool.
Yeah, but is also, this is the thing that drives me nuts about these people, because that's such a, it's just like a grown-up way to say like, yeah, I know something you don't. Like,
yeah, but that's, that makes them feel good.
But everything they do is always cloaked in this kind of mysterious, like, no, we're not a secret society. We're just a society with secrets.
Well, who doesn't have secrets? I mean, come on. That doesn't make you special.
So Time magazine notes that some of the members of the Freemasons were disappointed by learning that the Masonic secrets were nothing more than like simple philosophies, such as be kind to others and learn about the world around you. Or
that sounds great.
More like Sesame Street style lessons.
Yeah, that's really sweet. Oh my God, Sesame Street's the Masons.
No. Oh no.
They're pushing the secret societies upon our children.
Big Bird. Big Bird is the leader of the Illuminati.
Yeah. It's not Big Data, it's Big Bird. Okay, I'm kidding. Nobody go off and attack Sesame Street.
The Time article said this. They were all missing the point. Masonic secrecy is not a way of hiding anything at all. It's the wrapping and not what it contains that's the key. Secrecy is a way of enveloping bonds in fellowship and solemnity and sacredness. Born during the Enlightenment, when the grip of religious orthodoxy on private and public life was beginning to be relaxed. Freemasonry offered a passage to a more secular world. It was a halfway house. Its secrecy made it like a religion without containing any dangerous theological ideas. But that's a hard pill to swallow, especially when you're a dogmatic monarchy hollering about how dangerous a secret society is. The public and the members alike swore that there must be some kind of secret hidden behind these doors. There's got to be something there that they're talking about, right?
Do you mean even the members were thinking this?
Well, the members were disappointed because they would show up and be like, okay, so tell me all the Masonic secrets. And they're like, be kind to people, be respectful, learn about the world, educate yourself. And they're like, what? But what are the things they're supposed to overthrow governments? What are the deep secrets and philosophies that we're supposed to learn?
Wow, people are impatient.
Well, but it's the reputation too,
Yeah.
Because the Masons got built into this big, dangerous organization by the establishment, by the church. And so when the members joined, they expected something that would fit that description, and then it was nothing.
But that's what's so powerful. Nothing will change the whole world. Like
Right.
a small drop in an ocean, right? Like it's small, but that's how things get started.
Right.
And I think that's like a big miss here. It's like, this is what it is. It's all of us together with these ideas. That's the secret. That's the power.
But that's not satisfying.
No.
That's not satisfying. And and then you start to get rumors that circulate. Because if it's not that, right? If it's not, just the trickle of information, one grain of sand, blah, 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 over time, right? Then it's got to be something else. It's got to be something bigger, more powerful. One of the rumors, the secrets that the Freemasons and their fans claim to guard is the legend of King Solomon's Temple, which is alleged. Do you know what this is? What is there? What secret is there?
King Solomon's Temple.
Dun, 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 dun,
Oh,
dun,
oh,
dun,
oh,
dun.
Oh, Indiana Jones's whip.
No.
His hat.
No, the Ark of the Covenant.
I know.
Oh, well, then say that.
I'm just fucking with you.
His leather jacket.
His leather jacket. Come on,
Marion.
Yeah.
All right, so this is biblical history. Biblical history is way too large a field for this podcast. So let's just do a quick walkthrough. Do you know anything about King Solomon?
Didn't he have a treasure?
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay.
King Solomon was a Jewish monarch of ancient Israel, taking the throne after King David. Whether he existed or not is still debated, with most scholars believing that someone named Solomon ruled the region, but stories of his life and deeds are likely apocryphal or at least wildly inaccurate.
God, that's like everything.
I told you, we're going to say that phrase a lot in this series.
Yeah.
For our purposes, Solomon is best known for building a temple to Yahweh, or God, somewhere in Jerusalem. This temple was described as having 3 rooms, which made it exceptionally lavish at the time. Okay? The first room was a vestibule. The second was called the Holy Place, or the Greater House. And the third was called...
The bathroom.
No. God, no. No, the third was called the Holy of Holies.
Okay. This is where they kept all their Swiss cheese.
Because all the holes.
Yeah.
So what we take from this is that Solomon wasn't very creative in naming. You have the Holy Place and then the Holy of Holies.
Yeah.
This final chamber, the Holy of Holies, contained his throne, which is described as being excessively opulent and mechanically complex, with a bunch of moving pieces and things. The idea of an Israelite king sitting on a Rube Goldberg throne is just hilarious to me, too, by the way.
If he hits a wrong button, does it flip around? And...
Yeah, it flips around and
Yeah.
the things fold in and fold out.
Right.
And yeah.
He's in a pretzel now.
That's exactly how I imagine it.
Yeah.
According to legend, Solomon's temple also held the Ark of the Covenant, the box that held the stone tablets listing the 10 Commandments. This ark was allegedly constructed from acacia wood overlaid with gold. 4 gold rings, 2 at each side, served as housings for 2 long posts that could be used to transport the ark up on their shoulders, right? The whole box is about 4.5 feet long, or like 1 1/3 meters is what that would be. Just shy of 3 feet or 1 meter in height. So if you think about it, you could only fit NFL quarterback and conspiracy theorist Aaron Rodgers inside the ark if you curled him up into a little ball.
Oh, that's really small and uncomfortable.
Yeah, it wouldn't be great for Aaron Rodgers. He'd also be in there with the tablets.
Wow. You know what? I'm really embarrassed to say I didn't know what was in the Ark of the Covenant.
Oh yeah, it was the tablets that Moses brought down from whatever mountain that was.
I went through all the Indiana Jones movies and through all of Catholicism, and I never even asked or cared about what the fuck was in that box to begin with.
Well, you can't open it. I mean, if Indiana Jones told us anything, is that your face is gonna melt.
That's true. Maybe that's why I didn't care, because it's like it's not about what's in it; it's the fact that it's there.
It's the power of it, right?
Yeah.
Now, King Solomon's temple sat on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem in 587 BCE, when their city was sieged by Nebuchadnezzar II and the Neo-Babylonians. Today, historians and archaeologists are still unclear if any temple actually existed on that site. Israel Finkelstein and Neil Asher Silberman point out that despite all of his alleged history and wealth and power, Solomon is never mentioned in any text outside of Israel and is curiously absent from any of the building projects at the time. So he built the temple, but nothing else.
That's really strange. That's very suspicious.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah.
John M. Lundquist, a historian with the New York Public Library, writes, "The single most important fact regarding the Temple of Solomon is that there are no physical remains of the structure. There is not a single object or artifact that can be indubitably connected with the Temple of Solomon."
But there are other things around that time that are still intact that we have, and before, but...
Right.
So that's interesting. Okay. And it's like such a small area over there that like everybody kind of went in contact with everybody else, and there's all these writings from scholars from other areas that are, they always talk about other kings and other people, and so it's to me, that's completely nuts that he was never mentioned outside of that place. That's very suspect.
Yeah, this is what makes the whole thing very suspicious, right?
Yes.
I mean, did he exist? Maybe, If he did, is it possible he constructed some kind of temple in Jerusalem that got destroyed? Maybe. If that's true, could there have been an object inside claimed to be the Ark of the Covenant? Maybe. We don't know. We probably will never know what the actual answer is here. Because of that uncertainty, there have been all kinds of stories surrounding the fate of Solomon's temple and the ark inside. It's possible the ark was destroyed during the siege, but there are rumors that the ark, if it existed, if it was there, was removed before the Neo-Babylonians even made it to the city and was whisked away to an undisclosed safe location. Which makes sense. It's this highly religious artifact,
Oh, yeah,
right?
sure.
So some scholars point to passages from the Book of Maccabees in the Quran, which places the ark in a cave in Mount Nebo, Jordan. Another story puts it in Ethiopia, in the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion. Still others say it was taken to Zimbabwe, or buried in Ireland, or hidden in the Vatican, ready to be found by Tom Hanks. Right? And it makes sense, right? If it's such this holy thing, one of the most important and iconic pieces of Judeo-Christian spirituality, destroying it in a siege, that feels hollow, right? The idea that such an important artifact could have been so easily demolished diminishes the power of that object and the stories surrounding its mysterious existence.
Yeah, and you want to give people hope, too. That things continue through struggle.
Right.
Things live on.
Right. And then, of course, when we're talking about religion, there's all these questions like, well, what's the proof? What's the proof? What's the proof? If you could produce these tablets, that's a huge step in the journey of proving that the Bible is true, or at least some of the stories in the Bible are true. They were supposedly handed down by God, right?
Right.
So If you can find them, that's amazing. If you can't find them, what's the next best thing? Oh, they were taken away to a secret location. Somebody knows where they are, but I don't. Right?
Just have faith that they were taken there.
Exactly.
It's all built on faith anyway. You don't need to see it.
Exactly. Yeah. So there have been endless quests to find the Ark's final resting place, including by Indiana Jones. One group claimed to have succeeded, at least according to rumors. That group was a holy military order called...
The Knights Templar.
Oh, yeah. Continuing on our secret society quest, here we go.
Yeah.
Going back even further in time. Established in the 12th century, the Knights Templar quickly rose to become a massively powerful force in the Middle East. At the time, many Christians were making pilgrimages to the Holy Land, unaware that it was populated by bandits. And that's not to say that there were bandits populating the Holy Land, but the thing is, there were a lot of sort of unknowing Christians who were trying to make this nice little pilgrimage to the Holy Land, and then there were a lot of people that were like, yo, we could just rob them.
Yeah, and also... I tend to see all these Christians coming down as being bandits themselves.
They were.
Because to me, they were just looking to see what they could do. Like, okay, can I put down roots here? What can I do?
For sure, yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it was all that pure, but I think we like to think that, but...
So, but you're right, though. There was so much conflict in that region, and these people were just kind of journeying there.
Mm-hmm. Do.
Yeah, exactly. And so the route became so dangerous that armed guides began policing the region. Realizing the power that an order of Christian knights could wield, Pope Innocent II, so ironically named, poured money into the group and started utilizing them in the Crusades as shock troops. They fought against Saladin during his campaign in Israel, successfully entrenching Christianity in the Middle East.
That's what it was all about, my friend.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, let's look at all the pretty historical places. Okay, well, I'll go back to England. That was a nice trip.
Well, to be fair, there were some people that were doing that.
I'm sure there were, but I think that...
But the vast majority of them were not.
Yes, and I think the overarching point was get these people down here, get them used to it, so we can establish Christianity in the Holy Land.
Yeah, the goal was always to wipe out anything that was not Christian in that region, for sure. Yeah. So, thanks to their successful campaigns, the Templars amassed a vast amount of resources from the region, taking artifacts, money, and land as they went on. Because they're just, storming towns and stealing shit, basically.
Yeah, that was how they operated.
Yeah.
Just take everything.
But the Templars were more than soldiers. They were bankers, too. So, EJ, let's say you wanted to go to the Holy Land, right? You just wanted to see stuff, You have a bunch of stuff. Like, you own property and you own things. You would deposit your worldly possessions with the Templars, who would protect it until your return, when you could withdraw it from their vault.
Oh, my stuff would be kept in the Holy Land?
No, not in the Holy Land, in the Templars' special secret vault.
Do I know where that is?
No, you couldn't because it's so valuable.
Oh, okay.
So you would say, I want to go to the Holy Land. You'd come to the Templars, and the Templars would be like, okay, give us all of your stuff. We'll keep it safe so nobody steals it.
I can't keep it in my castle where all my knights are?
No. Well, you wouldn't have. We're not talking about people that wealthy.
Oh, I thought you were talking about wealthy people.
No.
Okay.
No. They're saying, give us your possessions. Okay. We'll keep them safe. Oh, by the way, why don't you just deed us your land, and we'll make sure that your land is safe and doesn't get taken or pillaged while you're gone. As a result of this strategy, the Templars quickly acquired a vast amount of wealth, all of which was securely stored in their own private strongholds. And, along with it, they got a bunch of land. They were so important to the realm that Pope Innocent II declared that they were exempt from local laws and could pass through borders unchecked. And at this point, I'm sure you can see where all this is going, because a well-funded military actively controlling a population's wealth exempt from all laws is just a fucking recipe for disaster.
That's just the monarchy, I guess.
So throughout the 12th century, the Templars started leveraging their power to gain influence in the courts and in the rulers. By the end of the century, public opinion began to turn against their order, at least in governmental circles. Tales of Templars acting as relapsed heretics, defying their holy calling and engaging in satanic worship started to rise. These stories, they're likely untrue and created by the nobility who felt threatened by the order's rising power and influence. These, obviously, echo the same struggles that the governments and the church would have with the Illuminati and the Freemasons centuries later. A secret society amassing enough influence to stand up to the established regimes. The vilification of this society by the frightened aristocracy, desperately clinging to control. It's the same thing, but with knights instead of science.
Yeah.
In 1307, King Philip IV ordered a simultaneous arrest of all of the Templars, saying, quote, "God is not pleased. We have enemies of faith in the kingdom."
Oh my God.
So all of a sudden, these holy knights who were supposedly appointed by God, God was like, whoops.
Wow.
The date of this arrest was Friday, October 13th, often cited as one of the first times that date is considered unlucky.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
The Templars were arrested en masse. The heads of the order were tortured and burned at the stake, and the lower-ranking members were absorbed into other military orders.
Damn. That's so sad. Even though they were kind of shysters and everything. But
They kind of were. I mean, they were kind of shitty. You have to also, when you think of the Templars, I think you also have to think of them in almost like a mob type of environment. You know, they were basically doing that. They were like, hey, we'll protect your stuff, we'll protect your land, we'll make sure you're safe the whole way. And then, you know, like if some of that got absorbed into the Templar order, you know, if they were like, oh man, we can't find that gold chalice that you left with us. That's so weird. You know?
And what are they going to do about it?
Exactly. Yeah, it's a military order, you know. Modern Vatican historians refute King Philip IV's accusations against the Templars. It's pretty clear that the monarch was afraid of the rise of a Templar government, especially one with an established military presence and established banking network. Like, fuck, dude, they basically were a government.
Man, they should have just, like, fought back instead of let everybody take them.
I think it was a tipping point. I think that had King Philip not gone exactly when he did, history might have been very different. You give it another half century, and we may very well have seen the Templars overtake, or at least dig in against the rebellion. And maybe a massive war, maybe the Templars win, who knows?
Yeah. Wow.
In the following centuries, several other orders took up the iconography and rituals of the Knights Templar, including our old friends, the Freemasons. Because why wouldn't they? They're basically Templars 2.0. And rumors spread, too, of Templar vaults that contain the wealth collected from these commoners, these nobles, and the military sieges that they did. Could there be surviving Templars who hid secret deposits in clandestine locations? And what if the order didn't disappear, but instead went underground, guarding these precious vaults through generations?
You know, I know this is a crazy thing, but that doesn't sound too crazy to me.
Totally,
like,
right? Yeah.
I think that, like, if I was a Knight of the Templar, I would hide my shit.
Yep.
And I would get my buddies together and I'd say, let's keep this a secret. And we'll go underground and we'll throw off the Templar outfit. We'll slide right into society and we'll keep this a secret.
Sure. The truth, however, is much more mundane.
No!
See, when Philip IV took over the order, he repossessed all of their valuables and funneled them back into his empire and the church. And, I mean, remember, these weren't gold, silver, and jewels exclusively. The most valuable asset was land. Not shit that could be whisked away on a ship or buried in Mahone Bay, Nova Scotia. We're talking about lands. But history is complex and dense, right? Over the intervening couple centuries, stories of the Freemasons and the Illuminati, their vast power and influence spread. So the Crusades became linked to the Ark of the Covenant, with the tales of the military order protecting the most holy Christian artifact. Because remember, we said, okay, maybe the Ark of the Covenant disappeared before the Neo-Babylonians got there. Mm-hmm. Well, who's the most likely group who could not only steal that away, who could have the military training to protect it along its journey and keep it safe and keep it secret? Mm-hmm. Well, that's the Knights Templar. Mm-hmm. They're these guys, they're trained military, and they've been underground for centuries already. Mm-hmm. This, in turn, became a secret passed to the Freemasons. They know where it is.
There is a secret then. There is a cool secret.
And then they kept it guarded behind their iconography and clandestine writings.
So why didn't they tell people when they joined?
Well, and that's the thing, because people sign up and that's what they're expecting.
Yeah.
They're expecting like, okay, so what was in King Solomon's vault? What's the Templar vault? Where is all of this stuff that I expect to find when I join? And then you end up with the actual Freemason handbook that's like, hey, like we got a secret handshake and we have wine on Sundays. And David, he brings his own special moonshine sometimes. And it's this kind of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, on Tuesdays, we always show up and we talk about nature. Yeah. It's just kind of like you were expecting these secrets, though. Mm-hmm. You're expecting to be like, no, the Templars were real. You were right. Like, the Templars went underground and we're going to tell you all of this stuff. That's not what happened. Mm. And so you see why people, as they join up, become disappointed by what's actually there and start thinking like, what are you not telling me? Because you have all these other people like the establishment, the governments, the church that are like, no, the Freemasons keep all of these secrets and they're dangerous secrets.
So you stay long enough and hopefully you can get led into the inner circles.
Right.
That's what I would do.
These stories were undoubtedly in the mind of Frederick Blair, who formed the Oak Island Treasure Company in 1893. This is, for the record, 10 years after Treasure Island now.
Oh.
Frederick Blair had been interested in the island his whole life. His uncle, Isaac Blair, had been part of Jotham McCulley's expedition in 1863 and told his nephew stories of the stone they brought up, covered in a cipher of strange runes. Strange runes, of course, fit perfectly with the legend of the Freemasons. For centuries, Masonic lodges have been identifying themselves with these cryptic inscriptions, these icons, hiding their true nature. Fred Blair himself, he was an insurance salesman, and he belonged to a local chapter of the Freemasons. So he's coming in, and he's got a head full of these stories of esoteric iconography, of secret vaults, hidden riches, the King Solomon, the Knights Templar, the Ark of the Covenant, all of this stuff, right? Blair set his sights squarely on Oak Island, convinced that the key to the money pit didn't lie in pirate tales, but instead the legends of the Freemasons and the Knights Templar. Blair was convinced that there was more to Oak Island than some trees and dirt. He believed that secret messages hidden in the margins of those legends told the truth of the money pit and the mysterious treasure hidden there.
Ooh.
But we will talk about his search and the discovery of an alleged secret ciphers and maps of Oak Island next time.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
Secret messages inside of the things? Oh, man. Okay. It would be cool if it was like, you go up to a Mason hall in like Canada or whatever, and inside the door, you see scratched inside, just inside there, like the map to the treasure?
Oh, we're gonna find maps and stuff. Well, next time we're gonna take. So this is the introduction, right? Which I know it's the introduction in the middle of the series, but we're gonna take all of this stuff that we talked about now, the background of the Freemasons and all these secret societies, all this iconography, all of that, and we're gonna dump that into Oak Island and into the minds of these people who are coming up now as Freemasons. And as people who are influenced by the Freemason ideals. And they're going to change, because up until this point, it's been pirates, right? It's been Captain Kidd buried some treasure, let's go find it.
Yeah.
But now you have this new generation coming in that's going to say, what if it's not pirates? What if it is actually one of these secret societies? And can we find the clues that will lead us to the truth and to the treasure and what is buried there?
And they think they have them.
They do. Yeah, they do. And a big part of that is the stone that they found at 90 feet.
Right.
Remember, because they found this gigantic piece of rock and it's got these runes carved in it, which is so fucking bizarre.
That's the craziest thing.
And that rock, just to put us in check of where we are right now, that rock has been in the fireplace and it's about to go missing.
Ha. How convenient.
Yeah. And then what happens, not to get too far ahead, but then you have all the people who are like, I think I saw it. Let's see if we can piece together the ciphers and crack them.
Oh, man. Based on memory, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is such an Illuminati and Freemason thing now. You know, you have all the symbols and the G's and the stuff. You know, what are these clues? Can we put these clues together?
Yeah.
And it elevates the treasure hunt to the next thing. Because initially it was just treasure hunt, let's go dig some holes. Now it's like treasure hunt, can we solve these cryptic clues that will lead us there?
This is becoming very sophisticated.
Exactly.
More and more sophisticated each century. Yeah.
And, like we talked about at the end of the last episode, you have to, again, ask the question, who put all of this goddamn work in?
I know. It's a lot of work.
You know? Because Oak Island, why did you take the stone and bury it 90 feet down? You know, why did you carve all those things on it? Why would you have this extensive, long search thing? And the reason that people say is because the treasure is so powerful and so secret that it deserves that.
That's cool.
And,
Okay.
but,
Sure.
But it's the circular logic again, right? As the mystery gets more complicated, the treasure has to become more valuable.
It does. Yes. Because you've put in so much time and effort and thought. This can't be a single gold coin.
Right. Or at this point, it can't be a chest of doubloons anymore.
No.
Now it has to be the Ark of the Covenant.
This has to be a world-changing find.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is where you start to get to, Ark of the Covenant, lost manuscripts of Shakespeare. Because I guess that's that valuable.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, okay then.
So that's where we go.
All right. Very good. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for that. That was interesting little historical.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's really cool. And it's really fascinating seeing how these things were established and seeing how their reputation was driven by the people who were trying to destroy them and by themselves, and how it was useful for both parts of the organization. And that's why you have today these secret societies that have this elevated reputation again. Yep.
Secrecy is powerful.
And you have to think about how useful it is when someone else thinks you're dangerous.
Oh, very, very useful. All right.
That's our little jaunt into secret societies in the middle of our Oak Island mystery. And next time we'll be getting back to the maps and the riddles and the clues, and we're going to get twisty and turny.
Yay! Like King Solomon's throne.
Exactly. Yeah. You push the button and the arm folds over, and then there's like another hand that comes out and feeds him a piece of cheese.
Yeah.
And,
Like, damn it, Jethro! I hit the wrong button again. Hey,
Yeah.
get in here. He's
Cool.
stuck. He just can't move. All right.
Yep.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. When this episode comes out, we're going to be deep in October, which is Halloween and one of my favorite times of the year. We're doing something really special. This October for Halloween, we are going to release the first ever Slaying Monsters Ghost Hunt, where we are going to do an investigation into a very particular type of ghost hunting. We're going to do an investigation with the Estes method.
Yeah, it's funny because, yes, it's a ghost investigation, but it's an investigation into the mechanism of the ghost investigation.
Yeah, exactly.
So we are really going to take this apart and look at everything. And
That's a great way to phrase it. I mean, we are going to do what I believe is the first scientific investigation of the Estes method to see if there is anything behind this. So we have a couple different factors that we're going to use for the test. And if you want to see them, head over to our website, slayingmonsterspodcast.com. Click on the support us button at the top of the page. That'll take you to our Buy Me a Coffee site. And we have a tier there that you can subscribe and get access to that content when it comes out at the end of the month.
Just so you know, if you already are giving, you have it already.
Yeah.
So thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening.
Thank you, guys.
We'll catch you next time. Be safe out there.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Slaying Monsters, the Paranormal History Podcast. If you like the podcast, there's a couple ways to show your support. You can tell your friends, you can leave us a rating and review on your podcast platform, or you can head over to slayingmonsterspodcast.com and click on the Support Us button to leave a donation. For questions, suggestions, and other feedback, reach out to us, slayingmonsterspodcast@gmail.com, and stay up to date by following us on Instagram @slayingmonsterspodcast. Your support helps us grow, and we are truly grateful to have our listeners and community.